On July 18, 1867 in Somb, a village located in the west of present-day Senegal, one of the most difficult battles of the colonial era took place. Maba Diakhou Bâ, known for his deep commitment to Islam, lost his life in this conflict, in his last stand at the famous Battle of Somb, also known as the Battle of Somb. In a titanic duel, his army bravely confronted the Sira troops led by Kumba Nofin Famakdouf, king of the Kingdom of Sin, and fervent defender of the enemy's Sira culture. Yet, before he took his last breath, Maba Diakhou Bâ, renowned as both a fearsome warlord and a respected religious scholar, valiantly engaged in multiple battles to promote Islam and oppose French rule. Designated as the #1 enemy of the French because of his holy war, he became a major figure in the opposition to French colonization, alongside personalities such as El Hadj Oumar Foutiyou Tall and Sémori Touré, in the history of West Africa in the 19th century. Nicknamed the Great Fighter of Islam by El Hadj Malik Sy of Tivaouane, and hailed as a fervent believer who fought for the cause of God by Cheikh Ahmadou Bamba, Maba Diakhou Bâ is also honored by El Hadj Ibrahima Niass as Commander of the Faithful and Enlightened Guide. These and other praises paint a picture of a man of heroic proportions. Yet, despite its monumental influence, the story of Maba Diakhou Bâ remains largely unknown to the general public. So who was this man really? Get ready to dive into the epic story of this great African conqueror, Maba Diakhou Bâ. Here we go. Born in 1809 in Tavakatu, also known as Tawa, Badebu, or Rip, Maba Diakhou Bâ is a native of this marshy region, once a small West African state located between the Kingdom of Solum and the right bank of the Gambia River. He is the son of Nyagu Hampet Bâ, a Marabu from Futa Toro who settled in the Rip in Solum, and Diakhou Dai, a woman of Sira origin from the Kingdom of Jollof. Maba Diakhou Bâ is also known as Amadi Bâ, Muhammadu Bâ, or Tafsir Maba Diakhou Bâ, the term tafsir referring to an exegesis of the Quran. He is also a worthy descendant of the Fulani dynasty of the Dinyank or Dinyankop through the branch of the Bâ families of the Rip region. This non-Islamized aristocracy, founded by Koli Tengela Bâ, had ruled the Futa Toro for several centuries, until the Torodo Revolution led by Suleiman Bâ and Abdul Qadir Kane in 1776. According to some sources, Maba Diakhou Bâ's ancestry can even be traced back to Sunjata Keita, founder of the Great Mali Empire. Also, his grandfather, Ibrahima Bâ, originally from Futa, had emigrated as a Marabout to Jollof to teach. His son, Nyagu Bâ, father of Maba, left Jollof after the death of his father, who had left him considerable property, and founded with his family and captives the village of Tawa in the Rip. At the age of 5 or 7, Maba began learning the Quran alongside her father in his native village of Rip. However, at that time, Badebu was under the rule of a tyrannical regime, with tensions between animist lukewarms and Muslims. As she grew up, Maba noticed that no one in her village, including her father, dared to pray in front of the animist Taidos, led by Diaraba Maron at the time, the king of the Taidos. Indeed, anyone caught praying risked being severely beaten or even killed. At the age of 11, this situation is a growing concern for Maba Diakhou Bâ. His father, concerned for his son's safety and eager to protect him from the abuses of the Badebu chiefs, decided to send him to a reputable Quranic school in Lonja, Kea, to the Quranic teacher Soraim Bobakambe. During her Quranic studies in Lonja, Maba impressed with her intelligence and hard work. His extraordinary achievements even earned him the respect and recognition of Ngon Lata, the mother of the warrior Lat Dior Diop. After completing his Quranic studies, young Maba went to Jollof, where he built a school and began teaching. It was in Jollof that he found a wife in the person of Mati Ndiaye, one of the nieces of the Boba or king of Jollof, Abri Ndiaye. When his father died in 1827, his younger brother Mamo Ndori Bâ sent a delegation to ask Maba to return to his native village of Rip, in order to preserve their father's legacy. However, it was only 13 years after his father's death that Maba Diakhou Bâ decided to return to the Rip, in response to the urgent request of his brothers. Back in his native village, he quickly became the undisputed leader. There, he began to attract many disciples among his relatives, as well as among the children of Muslim dignitaries in Solum and elsewhere. He also founded a village named Maba Diakhou, where he established fervent religious homes under his leadership. For nearly 30 years, he taught all religious disciplines, ranging from memorization of the Holy Quran to Muslim jurisprudence, exegesis of the Quran, the science of the deeds and words of the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, and literature. However, during his childhood, Maba Diakhou Bâ had heard a lot about the remarkable exploits of El Hadj Omar Foutiyou Tall, propagator of Tijaniya in West Africa. Maba is serious about meeting him. His dream came true in 1846 when he met Omar Foutiyou Tall, who had just returned from his great pilgrimage to Mecca. This decisive meeting took place in Kobokoto, a locality in Solo. El Hadji Omar Tall then assumed the role of Maba's main mentor, appointing him as a representative of the Tijaniya Brotherhood. He encouraged Maba to undertake jihad against the pagans, especially against the Lokedo warriors who oppressed the Muslim population. He even makes a great revelation to Maba: in every century, God chooses 5 believers as poles and saviors of men. I am certain that you, Maba Diakhou Bâ, are one of them. However, Dariba Maron, king of the Sos kingdom of Badebu and chief of the Taidos, noticed Maba's exceptional charisma and offered him the position of Qadi, a Muslim judge in charge of resolving problems of daily life such as marriages, divorces, and inheritances. However, Maba politely declines the offer of the king of Badebu, preferring to concentrate on his activities as a teacher and farmer. In the Badebu region, the repeated abuses of local Tido chiefs against peasants and Muslims are beginning to disturb Maba Diakhou Bâ. During the reign of Dariba Maron, Tido warriors regularly attacked Marabu villages in the region, inflicting brutal treatment. What draws attention to Maba is what is commonly referred to as the Nanjigi massacre in 1855. On that day, a Friday, the Muslim holy day of prayer at the mosque, the Taidos attacked the mosque in the village of Nanjigi, killing nearly 140 people, including the chief, and capturing about 70 scholars. Following this incident, Maba successfully organized a fundraiser to free the captive survivors held by the king by visiting Muslim homes in Solo. This courageous and significant action further increases the esteem, hope and respect that the Muslim populations already had for him. In addition, Muslim notables seized this noble action of Maba as an opportunity to discuss the need to organize and appoint a leader capable of effectively resisting the abuses committed by the animists. They unanimously chose Maba Diakhou Bâ as their leader. He agreed and asked them to keep the conclusions of their discussions secret and to remain loyal to him. Shocked by Maba Diakhou Bâ's audacity, Dariba Maron ordered his son and heir, Madayakhou Maron, to assassinate him. However, Madayakhou Maron, described by some as shy, is also a drunkard. On the eve of his mission, he is very drunk and, recklessly, reveals his intentions to a group of local Muslims who support Maba. This is how Maba discovers the plot planned by the warm-hearted king of Badebu. In the aftermath, Maba's troops began massacres against the Mandinka natives. In 1861, motivated by holy war, Maba's followers took revenge by killing Madayakhou Maron. Subsequently, Maba, accompanied by his Muslim supporters, attacked the king of Badebu, Dariba Maron. After many battles, Maba was victorious and the king was killed by Malik Adam Lai, a fervent follower of Maba. The latter's followers then roamed the Badebu, burning villages and capturing slaves. Thus, this success against the animist warriors attracted a growing number of supporters to Maba, who became the undisputed master of the Badebu, renamed Rip in homage to the Nyoro du Rip in Mali, conquered by El Hadji Omar Tall. He proclaimed himself Amami of Solum and became a fervent defender of black Islam by declaring, "As soon as I stop abiding by Muslim laws, stop obeying." Maba's approach was revolutionary in a region where arbitrariness, paganism, looting and raids reigned. Seen as an envoy with charismatic power, Maba uses the Muslim religion as a powerful means of mobilization. Like his mentor El Hadj Omar, Maba is intelligent and ambitious. In addition to converting the traditional states to Islam, he sought to abolish the caste system in the aristocratic Wolof and Sera states, while protecting the farmers, who were often at the bottom of the social ladder. Its goal is to unify populations under a single religion with common rules to end anarchy between neighboring kingdoms. However, in the neighboring Kea, Lat Dior waged a fierce struggle against the French settlers. After suffering a heavy defeat at the hands of Emile Penetlaprot's troops at the Battle of Loro on January 12, 1864, Lat Dior felt weakened and in difficulty in the face of the French who pursued him relentlessly. Aware that he could not face this threat alone, the king of Kea made the strategic decision to retire into exile. Once he arrived in the kingdom of Sine, Lat Dior sought the help of the reigning king at the time, Kumba Nofin Famak Diouf, in order to obtain reinforcements to fight the French and reclaim his throne. However, Kumba Nofin Diouf is unable to provide military support because he is already engaged in a long battle against the French administration for sovereignty over Jol, a province in Sine. It was therefore to the Saloum that Lat Dior turned, where Maba Diakhou Bâ, Amomi de Nyoro du Rip, received him with kindness. Accompanied by his faithful companions, including Demba Worsol and the king of Jolof Alberi Ndiaye, Lat Dior found refuge with Maba. It was February 8, 1864. However, Maba's aid to Lat Dior came with conditions. Lat Dior had to adopt the word Tidiane and shave his head. Under the influence of his advisor Demba Worsol, he finally accepted Maba's conditions. Lat Dior adopted the name Silmeka Diop, but this decision aroused the disapproval of part of its Tido population, which was still attached to animism. Despite this, Lat Dior became a powerful ally of Maba. But for Lat Dior, the main objective remains to regain control of Kea, while French settlers have already begun to divide the region into cantons ruled by French canton chiefs. Meanwhile, Maba struggles to establish order in an Islamic state fragmented by ethnic differences. However, the French colonists were convinced of one thing: as long as Lat Dior was free, they would never know peace. For this reason, they will embark on a ruthless hunt against him and his followers, offering a bounty for his capture. This situation also prompted Gori's superior commander, Penet Leprod, to send his commander Sabotier to persuade Maba to hand over Lat Dior. Despite the settlers' threats, Maba adamantly refuses to betray Lat Dior, affirming her commitment to protect him at all costs. Even if a dog came to my house, I would have welcomed and protected it, so if a person, in addition to sharing my religion, comes to my house, I am sure to defend and protect them. So I won't give you anything. This decision shows how loyal Maba was to Lat Dior, even in the face of pressure from the French colonists. Sabotier reported this information to Penet Leprod, a powerful governor of Gori at the time. The latter, feeling his pride wounded, is very angry. On the other side, after joining forces with Lat Dior and Alberi Ndiaye, Maba helped Lat Dior reconquer Kea and Alberi Jolof. His goal was to see Islam established in these kingdoms in order to create together an Islamic state stretching from Futa to Saloum. However, the rapid successes of these expeditions began to worry the French, who declared Maba public enemy number one. Aware of the settlers' secret preparations for a war against him, Maba Diakhou Bâ adopted an ingenious strategy. He managed to attract nearly 1,000 families to the Saloum region, coming from different territories such as Kea, Bale, Welo, Futa, Casamance, and Gambia. Among these arrivals were influential figures such as Memo Anta Sali, the father of Cheikh Ahmadou Bamba, as well as El Hadji Abdoulaye Niasse, the father of El Hadji Ibrahima Niasse. All of them responded to Maba's call to participate in the jihad against the French, led by Penet Leprod. Thus, Maba Diakhou Bâ asserts himself as an undisputed and indisputable leader, a guide and a master, gathering around him supporters determined to defend their lands and their faith. Penet Leprod's army is ready to do battle with Maba Diakhou Bâ, in the hope of putting an end to its resistance once and for all. This tension led to the famous bloody Battle of Pat Badian, near Nyoro du Rip, also known as the Battle of the Rip, which broke out on November 30, 1865. On that day, the forces of Maba and Lat Dior clashed with the French settlers led by Penet Leprod, who gathered 2,000 cavalry and 4,000 colonial infantry, supported by 1,000 infantry and 500 cavalry from the states of Wolo, Ndayambour and Dayanda. However, at that time, the French were resorting to a new weapon, the machine gun or cannon. This weapon, although considered unconventional in the European context due to its power and danger, was used by the colonial army on African soil. But, after a fierce fight, Penet Leprod suffered heavy losses and was even wounded in the left shoulder by a gunshot. Lat Dior and Maba seized this opportunity and seized 2 cannons left on the battlefield, symbolizing their victory over the French artillery. Maba Diakhou Bâ, a shrewd strategist, is one of the few African leaders who was able to join forces with other sovereigns to counter the action of colonial France, inflicting on his troops one of their greatest defeats. By the way, the combat strategy that made it possible to defeat the French in this battle, even though they were superior in guns, is still taught to new soldiers in Senegal. During this war, Maba's armies had used a secret and effective tactic against the French, the camouflage technique, which consists of carving the trees of the village to have a human appearance, with scarves. Also, according to many Muslim scholars in Senegal, this victory is one of the main reasons why the vast majority of the Senegalese population is Muslim today, as it contributed to the consolidation and spread of Islam, a major cause defended by Maba Diakhou Bâ. However, this victory against the colonizers hides another problem. Lat Dior retains a deep animosity towards the king of Sine, Kumba Nofin Famak Diouf, and harbors a desire to take revenge for the refuge he had denied him after his humiliating defeat at the Battle of Loro. Thus, in 1867, Lat Dior launched the first assault against the troops of the king of Sine, in a village called Koinga, located in Diakhou, the capital of the kingdom of Sine at that time. His troops caused chaos and set fire to the capital. But it was more of a surprise attack than a battle, as the village of Koinga was not conducive to clashes and no declaration of war had been signed between the two sides. However, despite the surprise, this fight is fierce. When Kumba Nofin discovered this tragic incident while attending the funeral of one of his Sine warriors, he hurried and managed to mobilize the Sine army, forcing the Marabouts army, an ally of Lat Dior, to withdraw. Following Maba's recommendations, Lat Dior returned to the Rip. But, before retreating, Lat Dior's soldiers caused serious damage to the kingdom of Sine. They even captured several high-ranking princesses, including the daughter of the king of Sine, Lingia Selb Ndofin Diouf. She was forced into a forced marriage to Abdoulaye Olibo, Maba's brother. After this incident, the king of Sine sent a letter to the chief of the Marabouts, Maba Diakhou Bâ, inviting him to an open battle, expressing his anger at Lat Dior's surprise attack on the Sine. In the letter, he declared, "This attack is undignified. If you are a man, I dare you to return and face the entire army of Sine in open battle. It's the beginning of hostilities." On July 18, 1867, an epic unfolded in the warm lands of Senegal. Maba, Lat Dior and Albry, having collected arms and ammunition in the British Gambia, advanced with their army towards the backwater of Fandé. This is where the Great Battle of Somb, better known as the Battle of Somb, will take place. The day is long and fiery, starting at dawn and continuing until dusk. It is a battle of rare intensity, pitting two kings of courage and honor against each other. On one side, Maba Diakhou Bâ, champion of Islam, and on the other, Kumba Nofin Famak Diouf, fierce guardian of the Sira animist tradition. The Sira strategy was to push back the Muslim forces at Somb, where strong resistance was prepared, and to prevent them from entering Taotian. However, this strategy failed and the Muslims entered Taotian victoriously despite fierce resistance from the Siras. However, the Sira army resisted and continued to fight with determination. Around noon, heavy rain broke out, forcing Maba and his army to take refuge under the trees for protection and to try to dry their weapons. The weapons of the Muslims become unusable under the effect of the rain. Therefore, in the final hours of the battle, the Sira army began to gain an advantage over the Muslims. Lat Dior himself led 3 cavalry attacks, but all were repulsed by the firm resolve of the Siras, who were determined to defend their territory at all cost. In the end, the bravery of the Siras and the excellence of their disposition decided the fate of the battle. After the failure of these cavalry charges, Lat Dior realized that defeat was inevitable. Together with Albry, they advised Maba Diakhou to give up, knowing that his troops were exhausted and that Kumba Nofin's army was far too powerful for them. It was then that Lat Dior addressed these words to Maba: "Master, the battle is lost. I warned you that the plan was bad when we were in Nyoro. Now, I advise you to accept defeat. Let's go back to Nyoro. I promise you that I will bring you back to Sine as a conqueror, and that I will conquer this land." However, Maba, driven by unwavering faith, refuses to give in, determined to sacrifice his life for the holy cause. He even replied to Lat Dior: "Lat Dior, you know that I have a great affection for you, to the point that I tend to turn around when I hear your voice. However, now I can no longer look away from the east. I must prepare myself to die fighting for God. Lat Dior then prepares to follow the example of his master Maba, who wants to die by his hero's side. But at the same time, Demba Woso, Lat Dior's advisor, intervened and dissuaded the latter from continuing the war with Maba. Subsequently, the Dayami Jij, captives of Lat Dior's maternal family, took Lat Dior by force, wishing to protect their leader. This is how Lat Dior and Albury withdrew from the battle scene at around 2 p.m. Maba, his nephew, and his principal assistant were finally defeated, and he was killed at Somb on July 18, 1867. According to Professor Ibieda Tayam, he was hit by a bullet in the heart, falling from his horse and collapsing completely. But a big question arises and sows confusion even today: where did the body of Maba Diakhou Bâ go after his brutal death on the battlefield? There are two competing versions to give an answer. According to the most widespread version, his body was desecrated by emissaries of the King of Sign, Kumba Nofin, before being sent to the French commander of Gori to announce the victory. Indeed, this action would be intended to be a threat to the French administration in Senegal, in particular the letter sent to the French governor by Kumba Nofin, listing the prominent members of Maba's army who had fallen in the Sign. However, according to other Senegalese Muslim traditionalists and scholars, it was a close friend of Maba, Ibrahima Tayam, who hid his body for a few days before burying it, in order to prevent it from being desecrated by the white invaders. Indeed, the French had a dreadful habit of beheading defeated African kings to spread terror in the region. However, regardless of the version, casualties are heavy on both sides. The King of Sign was himself wounded during the battle. At the end of this intense confrontation, he heals his wounds and takes his army home. Finally, he also claimed sovereignty over Badebou, formerly controlled by Maba. Mamon Deribo, brother and successor of Maba Diakhou Bâ, planned to continue the jihad, but France imposed a protectorate treaty, resulting in the loss of vast territories. In addition, Maba's eldest son, Saa Feti, furious at the agreement with the French, went into exile in the Gambia, where he died. Lat Dior, on the other hand, returned to Kea, relying on the royal captives and the Brotherhood of the Tidians, disciples of the conqueror El Hadj Omar. In 1870, 3 years after the death of Maba Diakhou Bâ, he again became Damotin of Kea and Bale, and the Gelwas of Solum took over the annexed provinces. With the continued resistance of the Sign, the Seras re-established their traditional monarchy. However, over the next 12 years, from his defeat at the Battle of Logondim at the hands of Louis Faidherbe in May 1859, Kumba Nofin Diouf tried tirelessly to fight the French until August 1871, when he was assassinated at Joal by French forces while on his way to exercise his authority over Joal's sovereignty. Today, Kumba Nofin Diouf is still admired by the Sera people for resisting French colonialism, ensuring the independence of Sign and the security of his people. If we are looking for a role model to admire and follow in history, it is Maba Diakhou Bâ. In my opinion, he deserves to be celebrated as a national hero, like Lat Dior. In the space of just 7 years, he achieved remarkable feats and played a crucial role at a time when the French and English were expanding their settlement in the region. At the time of his death, he governed a territory of more than 20,000 square kilometers, representing about 1/10 of Senegal, with an army of several thousand men. This is truly remarkable, especially for such a short period of time. I hope you enjoyed the video. I have tried to present Maba's journey as exhaustively as possible. As always, don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you very soon for a new video.